We have so much to talk to. We are in front of a live virtual audience. Say hello, ask questions. We are excited and here for you. Real quick, I have to talk about last night where I saw my favorite artist of all time, Janet Jackson, at Madison Square Garden. And boy, can I say she delivered full throttle, 100%. Dancing, 2 hours of nonstop dancing. They divided it into 4 segments, and each segment was jam-packed. And these sexy, hot dancers, I mean, they were hot boys that she surrounded herself. You know, in the past, she's had some women, she's had people of different sizes. This time it was the boys, and she was flirting with them, gyrating with them, costume changes. MSG was packed house. A highlight was she did songs celebrating the Velvet Rope and the Janet album. Both have iconic birthdays, and that's why she was doing this concert called Together Again, hence the title of one of my favorite tracks.
And because of COVID, too, that we're all together again.
And so together again, yeah, she's been away for a minute. And so all of that just was felt. She seemed so happy. She was just jamming. She sounded great. And I think that she did a lot of songs that she hasn't. I've seen every concert in the last several years, and I know the material she's done. She did material that she hasn't done in ever. Demeter Joe, she did. Because of Love is a song that's fun off of one of the albums, I think the Janet album back in the day. I hadn't heard that in a long time. She did So Excited, which is a great track I haven't heard her do in a while. Off of the Janet.
I'm resisting the temptation to sing all of these songs as you're going over.
Yeah, I mean, it was so, I was so excited to hear these songs performed. And one of the other highlights was Busta Rhymes, which they did a track 25 years ago. You know the song. And
Gonna make your body wet. See, okay, all right. Yeah. That's the only time.
And we were fortunate to get Busta Rhymes there, who came out and just praised her to death and said that, you know, back 25 years ago, Janet was doing a radio interview here in New York, and Angie Martinez, DJ, asked Janet, who, if you had one rap artist that you would ever want to work with, who would it be? And she said Busta Rhymes, in which he exclaimed, I almost drove into a wall. And they made it happen. And it's reportedly one of the most expensive hip-hop music videos ever made at $2 million plus.
Wow.
And if you watch it, it's really iconic. She looks amazing. He looks great. And to see them perform it 25 years later and hear his homage to her was really special for our particular show, I have to say. But if you get a chance to see Janet, so worth it. So worth it. That's all I got to say on that.
I love it. I want to see her so bad. So, but yeah, congratulations, babe. I love Janet. So,
thank you. Yes. Well, we love to shout out to listeners, and one of our listeners is from Amsterdam, and Andrew wrote, "Hi, Steve. I hope you are okay. I just wanted to send you my best regards from Amsterdam. I love your podcast, and it's always fun to hear your perspective on gay life. You and Kodi are such a great duet. Sometimes I disagree with your views. I am more on the right side, but I always value your opinion. Kisses from Amsterdam, Andrew." Thank you, Andrew. We'd love to hear from you like that. Absolutely. And a little bit later, we're giving advice to another listener, so stay tuned for that. But first, we got to get into hot topics. And first off, not a great day for George Santos, Kodi, at all. As he
Katara,
thank you very much.
My girl Katara, yes. Hey, girl.
He pleaded not guilty to federal indictment and says he won't resign. And this all happened this morning after Santos' 13-count federal indictment was a reckoning for web of fraud and deceit that prosecutors say overlapped with the New York Republican's fantastical public image as a wealthy businessman. He actually was released. So, you know, he was essentially arrested, turned himself in, but he was released on a $500,000 bail. That's crazy, right? Not enough. I know.
Not enough.
He faces 13 federal charges, including 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of making materially false statements in the House of Representatives. The funny thing about today was, Kodi, is in the House of Representatives, they were doing sort of like a class picture for all the representatives. And he's such a ham and wants to be in the spotlight, even though he's only been in office a few months. He missed this whole class picture moment, which was probably killing him. Why? Because he had to show up in court, turn himself in, pay that $500,000, and he's not so fabulous after all, I think. The last thing I want to say about him that I want you to weigh in is he was recently whining that C-SPAN is boring, says he wants to make politics more entertaining. This was on a recent interview, and when asked about a recent law that he's trying to enact in the interview for introducing the Minaj Act, and you're thinking, Nicki Minaj? The official name is the Medical Information Nuanced Accountability Judgment that he's trying to introduce, has no support. He's calling it the Minaj Act. And the reporter said, so the Minaj Act is a medical freedom bill. It was a creative way. Here's how politics works, he said. Politics is boring, he said. And the interviewer said, who's Minaj? Is it Yes, Nicki Minaj. That's who I thought, the interviewer said. Well, she was very pro-choice, he said, on the vaccine situation and didn't like the mandates of the COVID-19 vaccine, Santos said. And the reason I named the bill with some nuance there was simply to make sure that we can get pop culture meets politics and we can harness the energy of younger generations, which necessarily do not enjoy politics, or layman people who don't pay attention to politics, and he went on and wasn't really making that much sense. Yeah. It's probably not making that much sense right now.
Does he ever, though? Does he ever? Lies never makes much sense, darling.
Thank you. He's a lot of hot air. And what did you think about this morning? I mean, to finally see turn himself in like that.
I was like, what a good day, because so many horrible politicians are getting their comeuppance this week, as far as what happened with Trump, and now this is okay. I hate to have hope for the downfall of another human being, but George Santos is such a horrible person all around. This is his just desserts. This is what he's reaping, what he has sowed. And I just hope that this indictment will stick and that Katara will end up in the clink where she belongs.
And sashay away. Thank you very much.
Sashay away. Yes, darling. And maybe she'll be able to put disgraced former congressmen on their resume, because that is the only thing that will actually be factual on there, besides former horrible drag queen.
Thank you. Because if anyone's ever seen it, it's pretty horrible. We don't need to see that either. So, yeah.
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that.
We got to bring that back. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that shout out. A little programming note. Next Wednesday, I believe it's May 17th, we're also live for Tags Live. And one of our special guests will be Kodi's boyfriend, Joe. Yes. And we're so excited. He's going to be talking about an upcoming book, some work he's working on, but also it's your chance to ask questions. Since we always reference Joe on this particular show, send in. You can direct message us on our Twitter account at TAGSPodcast, or go to the website. If you have questions for Joe and you want us to answer ahead of time, please do so. But Joe's coming on. Are you excited?
I am a mixture of excited and very, very nervous, but it's going to be a great show. It always is. And
he's so charming. You're charming. But I could see where there would be a little bit of trepidation upon next week's show. So, yeah.
I feel like the questions, I'm like, what are the questions going to be? I just, you know how it goes. So
I do.
We're going to see what happens.
Okay. Well, speaking of partners or ex-partners, Gwyneth Paltrow has been making a lot of media recently when she was asked on the Call Her Daddy podcast that went viral, compare Ben Affleck and Brad Pitt. So if you know, she was with Brad Pitt at one point years ago, and of course Ben Affleck as well years later. And the interviewer asked Gwyneth to compare them sexually, who was better in bed. She essentially said that's a really hard because Brad was the sort of major chemistry love of your life at the time, as opposed to Ben was like technically excellent.
I mean,
so both of those are not bad things to say about your ex in bed. Technically excellent. Well, when I first
that's high praise.
It is. I'm not sure I ever would use the word technical with sex for me, because that can sound a little clinical at times, but I think she probably meant it in a positive way. So I'm going with that. Love of your life, Brad Pitt. When you're in love with somebody, they can almost do no wrong. And I'm sure the sex was very romantic love. And they were both super young at the time. But it does bring up the question, what of your exes can we talk about, and the sexual experiences do you recall? I'll start first because in my long-term relationships that I have, one of them I had a really great sex life with. We were together about 3 years, and here in New York, sex was always pretty much the same, but it was a lot. Like, he wanted to have sex a lot. Our libidos were high. It was pretty much the same type of sex. He was the top, I was a bottom. He liked his nipples played with. He played like he was from Jersey, and he knew I liked that kind of bigger, at the time, Jersey boy thing. And
Jersey boys do it better. Okay, just so you know.
Jersey boys do it pretty good. And he would talk that nasty talk, and yeah, you like that big Jersey boy pounding you, right? And it would kind of be the same thing all the time, but it was hot for me and always made me have a screaming orgasm.
Wow.
And we got together after we were broken up, and still had great sex after that. So definitely that was one of the more memorable ones. I can think of one of the loves of my life, one of my first boyfriends of all time, back in San Francisco, where the sex was good, but we were more in love. So it does kind of relate a little bit to what Gwyneth is talking about, where I think if I had to work really hard, I could remember the sex. But I think what we had that was really strong was our affection for each other. We spent almost every night together. We were just locked at the hip. And to this day, we're still very close. Different lives, but very close. And so I kind of can see what Gwyneth's talking about. One of them was more of this romantic long-term love. The other one was just great sex, but also a good relationship too. Yeah. I'm still friends with both of them. But
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, first of all, I want to say Ben Affleck in the shower. Did you see that GIF of his?
I did not. Do you have it on call here to put it up?
I can put. Do you want me to put it in the? I can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Because we might get flagged. Because
Thank you.
But it's pretty girthy. I was like, wow, no wonder J-Lo went back to him. And somebody in the comments actually said that as well. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I hope he didn't use a body double. It was in Gone Girl. Just in case are you looking at it right now?
I'm not, but you put it in the chat. I put it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm glad she had wonderful things to say about both of them. I don't know if I can be that. Right?
J-Lo should be happy if that's really him.
Happy girl, right?
Yes.
But I don't know if I could be so magnanimous as far as my exes were concerned. I don't know if I'm friendly with exes, but I think that once you are romantically involved with someone, it's hard for me personally to maintain a friendly relationship. But that being said, I'm friendly with a lot of my exes. I do think that the most important thing in sex, like you were saying, is connection. And the best sex that I've ever had was probably when the connection was really, really strong. I could think of 2 instances off the top of my head, my bald head here.
Love it. We love it.
I actually have names in my notes, but I'm going to omit the names because you didn't say any names. So I was about to shout them out, but never mind.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to go that. I mean, I guess we could have, but they're not famous. Like Gwyneth had famous ex-loves, and she's famous. So I don't think we should shout out ours, but because no one really knows them per se. Yeah. But was there one where you had one type of sex that's very memorable and another one where you had a different type of sex that maybe was totally different?
One of my very first boyfriends, we had an incredible connection when it came to sex. We were very much in love. I just loved his mind so much. And even though he came in my eye, I still enjoyed having, I know, right? It burns, girl. It is not a good time.
Right.
And then the technical part of it, I can say that when I first moved to New York City, I dated this guy for a prolonged period of time, and he knew what he was doing all the way down. That's why when Gwyneth was like, oh, Ben Affleck is technically wonderful, I know exactly what she means, because certain people know how to hit every bell and whistle that you have, and those people are blessed by God.
It's also a chemistry thing too, I think, between you and that person. There was somebody I didn't even think of until you started talking about hitting all those right buttons. And on this particular show, I talked about a guy from San Francisco that I knew in my 20s, and then we reinvigorated the relationship a few years ago. Many of you listeners might know who I was talking about. He hit all my buttons right. And when we were dating again, it was the best sex ever. And then we elevated it, like, since we're older now, to certain other things like fisting even we got into that we didn't do before. And somehow he read my mind that I was into that. And so it was really cool because we kind of took what we had in the past and that we were always connected sexually that way, but and romantically, but we were able to elevate it to a newer time. It didn't ultimately last forever, but we're still friendly though, and I can reach out to him whenever, and it's great. I really super fond of him still to this day. So, I mean, I try and keep everybody in the back pocket somewhere.
I mean, you never know when you need an itch scratch. I have a question for you.
Right. And we got to get to some of our live audience people here. Yeah.
Always. So I have ended relationships because the sex was horrible. Have you ever ended have you ever been dating someone and then had sex with them and thought to them, okay, well, that wasn't that much fun and we're not going to date anymore?
Well, there was someone more recently. If some of you sharp listeners will know, put 2 and 2 together. There's someone recently that I was going on several dates with. I was so attracted to him. He was so romantic on the dates. It ultimately didn't last, but what I noticed was we weren't having sex that often. And the one time that we did have sex, it wasn't fucking or any of that, which I wanted that to happen. It was a certain type of sex, oral and so forth, which was great, but I kind of felt like, why aren't we having more sex? And later, a friend of mine told me that this same guy reached out to him on the apps after we were done and actually put on there that he's not that sexual. So not asexual, but not uber sexual. And so I think I want somebody that's a little bit more sexual. And so I think it's good that it ended when it did. We're still friendly. He likes a lot of my Instagram posts and all is good in the hood, but I think it's probably best that it didn't because I wanted it to be a little bit more sexual. Like a lot of blue balls were happening for me. So that's not a good time.
And
did he ever miss the statement when I said I host a sex positive podcast? I mean, I don't know that he got that memo.
He took the clue there. For me personally, I remember one of my very first relationships. I thought we dated for a very long time, and I'm gonna make this quick. And I waited to have sex with him because I was a very good chaste virginal woman, and and once we did have sex, I thought we were having so many problems, and I thought that the sex would save the relationship, and that was just not the case. And as a matter of fact, it brought on more problems. So it just
save really that for advice that we're going to be giving.
Okay.
I think because it's on that same wavelength. One of our savvy listeners, who's one of our co-hosts, when one of us can't be here, Teddy Alexis,
he knows,
watching us live, is very acute and said, "Not the hung guy from the beach." He says, "Yes, actually him. That's the guy. Very good. Ding, 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 ding. You win. More of us." Bryce Smith says, "When you're in love, when he breeds you, those juices tingle your insides."
That's right.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Bryce also said, though, he's not fucking anyone unless they tell them that they love him. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's right on our connection wavelength.
Okay. Interesting. So he's not having sex unless that love, of course, is happening?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, don't give me that face. I forgot we're on camera on this show. You can't hide anything.
You can't forget.
I know.
That's so funny.
Keeping these shows apart is a whole thing. Okay. I think we have time to, we got to talk. So our next round of stories, thanks so much for playing. I'm really excited about this throuple of upcoming stories because they all have to do with OnlyFans, and they caught my attention, and we love pairing up a throuple when we can. So we'll start off with the first one. Former child star Dan Benson. I didn't know who he was, but we'll explain in a second. Dan Benson recalls being recognized at Disneyland, and it wasn't for his former Disney acting abilities. It was for his OnlyFans content. He said, "Boy, I was bad at taking nudes back then. I'm good at it now. But back then, yeah, I sent out nude pictures that weren't even good. I would say, oh boy, I'm not even upset that they're out there. I'm upset that those aren't the ones that are out there now. I got recognized at Disneyland. I was waiting in line for a ride, and someone on the ride turns to me and goes, 'Dan Benson, I love you.' And I go, 'What the?' Because that's never happened to me. Even at the height of Disney, when I was on Wizards of Waverly Place, no one knew my actual name. They just were like, Zeke, the funny, goofy one." So it's a really weird experience, he says, now to be kind of way more famous than I was just because I made this extreme choice into doing more like sex work. And by sex work, he's talking about his OnlyFans. I'll post this on TAGSPodcast.com so you can see the various pictures and so forth. I love that one, that he is more recognized now. Did you know Dan Benson prior to this?
Prior to him having an OnlyFans, no. I never watched Wizards of Waverly Place, but I know that's where Selena Gomez first got her start.
Here we go.
I don't recognize him from there. As a matter of fact, now that I do recognize him, I'm going to just call him Zeke from now on because that's how he's most used to being called. So, I mean,
I guess, but now people are knowing him from his OnlyFans. So good for him for making that transition. It sounds like he's
boring. I'm going to call him Zeke.
Okay. But I think that's really cool. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think he successfully made this transition over to OnlyFans but listen to this next OnlyFans story. Mm-hmm. There's a guy that goes by Big Cock Dude, got my attention.
I know, right?
And his biggest thing is people think sex work is easy, and his point is it isn't. Most people think it's easy, and I was one of them before starting it. It's not easy at all. Most of the content creators have main jobs. I do too. And most of the time, it's hard after a long shift at work, going to do a collaboration, or after a long week doing them during your days off. Last year, I didn't have a day off for 7 months. And yet, when I finally took a holiday, I was getting messages saying that it was easy going on a holiday with OnlyFans money and that I should look for a real job. So...
Oh, hell
Who are these people?
I know, Rue.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful dick, you guys. I'll post it on TAGSPodcast.com. Maybe post that, Kodi,
I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Yeah, for our live audience. But
yeah.
I might check out his content, and I think it's a really good call to action we were talking about it the other day at Joe's brunch. There was a couple of friends. I don't know if you were involved in that conversation, but they were saying as a couple, they were thinking about it. They're really they're super adorable. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I know.
They are a lovely, adorable, hot couple that I would watch. I said, I would be your first, I would pay for it to watch you guys. And they really want to take a bunch of trips. They're kind of in that trip mode. They want to go to Thailand. They want to go to Europe, all the places that we all want to go. And they have successful jobs, but they probably would like a little bit of extra money, and they're considering it. But a word of advice, it's not as easy. They're both busy. Maybe I like the words of advice that he gives. Yeah. He also gives a little bit of recommendations on if you are going to do this, things that you can look out for. He gives a couple of tips there. If it's, basically, I'll let you read it, but I liked his honesty on this.
Oh, yeah.
And not 100%. Everyone can do it, so to speak. So, yeah.
He taught me a lot. I really thought that once you have an OnlyFans and you become popular, you do not have to have a second job. It just becomes money, racks on racks on racks, because you're raking in the money. But this really gives me another perspective on things, because it's not a cash cow, basically. And he's really, really sexy, but he's got a lot to live up to. When you name yourself Big Cock Dude, then it's all like the girls are going to be girling for you, okay?
Listen, content creating in any nature, producing a show, producing this show, producing OnlyFans is a lot of, it's got to come out every week. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be good.
Yeah.
And all of those things, and you can't repeat yourself. And so all of those things, we have guests on the show. They have collaborators on the show. And all of that stuff behind the scenes work isn't that easy. I mean, on the other hand, I'll share a quick story. I was turned on Scruff the other day, and I decided not to go out. And lo and behold, I got this message from Austin Wolf, which many of us know.
You know what? I knew what you were going to say before you said it.
You did not know that. But here's the thing. I have admitted on the show before that on a past birthday, this is when Rent Boy was a biggie, and OnlyFans, I don't believe, was around. And so many of the porn stars at the time put themselves on Rent Boy. Okay. And I had hired him as a birthday gift to myself, and he delivered. I told a funny story that I'm not going to repeat on that, but ultimately it was a great experience. So it was interesting to see him hitting me up, but he did this whole thing like, hey, and I was like, hi. And we were going back and forth. He asked for my phone number. It said Austin on there. And he says, let me get your phone number so we can communicate offline. But then he was quick to say, I'm an escort.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, how much? And it was a rate that was not suitable for me for that particular night. But I said, I'll keep it in mind for future. And
so she just went to see Janet. No.
I know. I just bought Kylie tickets. I'm going back to Puerto Vallarta. I owe this. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Yeah. Austin, you are like behind Kylie and Janet and Puerto Vallarta.
There it is.
And then we'll get to you. But you are behind Kylie. So, yeah. I mean, you're in good company.
I mean, yeah. You're higher on the priority list, but however, there are things that
thank you. You're so funny. So I literally was like, oh, wow. Okay. So, but my point is he's on the various OnlyFans, and he has his own platform as well. And I think that he's even going back to escorting, and you just got to keep it moving. It's like, make that coin.
That's right.
Oh, ask Austin if he charges 50% off if he only, what does that mean, Kodi?
If he only comes once.
Oh. When Austin, And then Teddy says, when Austin cost 3 Janet tickets, they were almost comparable. The same.
Are you kidding?
For my floor seat and Austin's one night stand would be almost the same, but they're almost the same amount. I mean, Janet did 2 hours. I mean, Janet, Austin,
you better
Janet.
Get 2 hours.
I would always pick Janet, always. Because I don't need to hire an escort necessarily. He's one of my dream boys, but I can,
you already had that dream.
I had it.
Do you want to repeat a dream?
I mean, the dream was good. It was a
good dream.
It's a juicy wet dream. I mean, again, he's just placed behind, if I had $1 billion, it would, life would be a little bit different.
You make it happen.
Which I'm headed towards that. So
we're going to be there soon.
We are going, So, anything that people have to say, because we had one last story on the OnlyFans throuple moment. Kodi,
I think that we are
up to date.
Yeah, I think we're.
TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey guys, a couple years ago I started meditating. In particular, I started intention setting. Setting an intention for the day ahead, like connecting with those I come in contact with, or being in the moment. I can honestly say this daily implementation has changed my life to direct and prepare myself for very productive days that are drama-free. And most importantly, it keeps me happy. Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. I'm an editor in my work life, and I utilize the same principles in life to edit my life, make changes, implement new productive behaviors. All of this has served me quite well. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk through things. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. A few years ago, I was in couples therapy with my boyfriend because we were having trouble communicating with each other, as well as having some jealousy issues. We both learned coping mechanisms and, most importantly, learned better communication skills. If you've thought about therapy, then BetterHelp could be right for you. Everything is done online and it's designed to be super convenient while working with your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire so you can be matched up with the therapist that's right for you. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/tags today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/tags, TAGS.
Hey guys, your buddy Stevie here, and I'm really excited to talk to you about Joy Mode. Recently, I was just in Puerto Vallarta, and I was getting together with a guy, and I wanted to be ready and hard. I didn't want to take one of those prescription medications that go through your bloodstream. I wanted something natural. Joy Mode worked so well with me, and I was so happy that it's naturally based. That's right. It's going to get you ready to go, but in a natural way. Joy Mode is here to save the day. Whether you're happy or unhappy with your performance in the bedroom, why not perform even better? Joy Mode's sexual performance booster is like a pre-workout, but for sex. The sexual performance booster is designed to support erection quality and firmness and sex drive, and it contains clinically supported doses of arginine nitrate, L-citrulline, Panax ginseng, and vitamin C. It was created with the best-in-class scientists and biochemistry PhDs. After taking the sexual performance booster, blood levels of arginine nitrate will increase, which will promote nitric oxide production, penile tissue relaxation, and increased drive. And I can speak from experience that this really worked for me. Meanwhile, the antioxidant action of vitamin C will protect nitric oxide from oxidative degradation, which enhances the blood flow promoting activity of nitric oxide. Collectively, these effects enhance sex drive and blood flow to the penis, resulting in better performance. And even as a bottom, I can tell you, most of my tops want me to be hard. This just makes everybody happy. I love Joy Mode. Joy Mode was created because the products on the market can be terrible. You know, the prescriptions come with all sorts of side effects. Over-the-counter gas station pills are sketchy and fraudulent, but lots of guys take both because they don't have a better option. All you got to do is take this with 6 to 8 ounces of water, just like your favorite electrolyte packet. For best use, consume Joy Mode anywhere from 45 minutes to 4 hours prior to your hot sex. You'll notice better blood flow, better erection quality and firmness, and increased sexual energy and drive. Want to spice things up in the bedroom and boost your sexual performance and do it naturally without nasty prescription drugs? Well, we have a special offer for the TAGS audience. Go to usejoymode.com/tags or enter TAGS, TAGS at checkout for 20% off your first order. That's usejoymode.com/tags for 20% off your first order. And you know what? Thank you, Joy Mode. The last one's a little bit crazy. It's an OnlyFans model that says he can't leave the house without people staring at his 14-inch cock. Yeah. An OnlyFans star who claims to have a huge 14-inch penis says he constantly gets stared at in public. Mark Rock, R-O-C-K-E, 33, used to have a dick measuring 8 inches in length and 5.5 inches in girth. That's good, I think.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's like mine, basically.
Mine's a little thicker, but you know. But not anyway. However,
I'm not ashamed.
He goes, however, Kodi, you're so funny. However, he claims he underwent 2 experimental surgeries to bring his penis to a final measurement of 14 inches in length and 12 inches in girth. Kodi, if you could put that in the chat section, that would be amazing.
Already.
Okay. And now, so it's funny because
people need to see this.
The worst part of it is like he's complaining about this sort of, but he did this to himself. And if you look at the pictures, I'll post this on TAGSPodcast.com. He spent $80,000 to release the suspensory ligament and inject it with dermal fillers and body fat, as well as placing a large prosthesis within it. If you take a look at it, it's mesmerizing in many ways. It looks like it's not real in many ways. I'm kind of obsessed with it in a little ways. I'm sure his OnlyFans, maybe I'll check it out. I mean, I'm interested in it, but I'm not a fan of doing all the... It seems dangerous when you start doing... We've talked on the show that do what you want. Jeremy's a big proponent of do what makes you happy with your face, your body. Just be safe with some of this stuff. I hope that what he did with some of this stuff is safe, putting fillers in it. And I hope it's worth it. It sounds like he's complaining, Kodi. Is he, or is he bragging?
He loves it. He loves to go out and have people staring at him. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. I get it. He just wants to get his milk. That he said that in the article, actually. But overall, I think that this is a positive thing. We've been talking about all of these instances where sex work is a positive thing, where people aren't being forced into it. And I think this is the best iteration of when sex work can actually be amazing for the people that are actually doing the work, as opposed to more nefarious, lascivious ways that people get into sex work. Going back to 14-inch dude, all right? He should take his name. He should take Big Cock Dude's name, because this thing, I've never been speechless before in a meeting between you and I, a production meeting. But this time, all I could say was wow over and over and over again because it is redonkulous. It's literally a donkey dick. I don't understand it.
I know. I'm kind of into it too. I don't know if you're into it or you meant like that or you're just mesmerized or
I'm aghast. I don't know how I feel actually right now. It's going to take me a couple minutes.
Actually, I mean, I don't know. It's almost like this microphone, and I don't know that my mouth could go over that. I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out.
You can pinch. I read a lot of the comments, like you said, that said, and even Teddy is saying in the comments here that it's not real, that it's fake. And to me, that's kind of messed up because people are going to think that you can actually go out and get these surgeries, and it might not always be the safest thing for them to actually attempt to have this type of penis, because these surgeries aren't always safe, basically.
Well, let me ask you this point blank. Do you think that this is real?
I think it looks a little fake. After like investigating it, after I got over the shock value of it, I feel like it does look a little bit fake. Like it's I don't know.
Let me just double check one more time. We do a little research on these stories. So, okay, so yeah. It's a British. Okay, so let me tell everyone, this came from a British tabloid, the Daily Star, with an interview from this guy. And these were the pictures that were. Now, we do know that you can sometimes accentuate the dick a little bit more, but this was coming from a source. So it could actually be, and given the fact that he said that he did fillers and had this whole thesis done, maybe it's no different from when you watch that show on E! Entertainment where, what is it called? I Want to Be Perfect. That whole, the two doctors in Beverly Hills that do botched. And then there's, I find if this is true, and we're just going to say for shits and giggles that it is true, it's no different from a woman coming in on that show all the time and she wants the bigger and bigger and bigger boobs, and the boobs are like out to here. I'm like, 2 feet in front of me, audience listening. And I find it no different from that. And the doctors are telling them, no, this isn't safe. The blood vessels the skin is too thin. Yeah. You're in danger, girl. And they still go ahead
Molly,
and do
you in danger, girl.
You in danger, girl. And they still opt for it. Those surgeons don't technically ever want to do that. But they go do it anyway. And so maybe, why wouldn't we think that a guy wouldn't want to do the same thing, but for his dick?
I hear you, and I think that in both instances, if this is actual factual, I think people need to be very, very careful about potentially endangering their health, because this does not look. I know it might look like something that's wonderful or to be applauded, or I mean, if I saw it on the street, I would. I might run the other direction.
No.
It's a monster. Oh, no.
I might do that and then turn around and go, who am I kidding? Let me run towards it. I'm just being honest, people. Okay.
But Bryce brings up a good point, though. He says that he thinks that it's fake because the balls are the same size as the shaft is. And he didn't mention anything about them filling the balls. Interesting. So we got the detectives on the scene, and we will report back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little more research on this because I want to know now if this is real or not. And because, I hope it's real. All right. Well, we love giving advice on this show, solicited or unsolicited. And this one comes from a guy by the name of Alexander. And he wrote in saying, me too. Hi, Steve. Alex here. Love the podcast. Been listening for a few years now. Here to share my recent love story along with a follow-up question. So I met this guy at a Halloween party, and long story short, we became cuddle buddies. We got so comfortable and fell in love, but we're never in a relationship officially. Cut to 6 months later that we realized that we're not compatible in some ways, where both our needs are difficult to be met from each other. We decided that we're not going to pursue a romantic relationship together, So we have an end date to our relationship until the end of next week to create a beautiful ending, to do things that we haven't done together, things we would have regretted not doing, creating the most memories for the last time until that end date comes, and thought I'd share that with you all. The follow-up question, which I'm not sure that there was a question there at the beginning, but here's the sex has been great, and I've been more open to exploring my kinks with him. We decided that we're still going to be friends after we're no longer seeing each other. Would it be crazy to think of the possibility that we could become friends with benefits in the future? I brought this up to him too and concluded that we'd see how we feel emotionally then. What do you think? Is it possible to be fuck buddies with your ex, even though he's not my ex technically? Curious on what you all think, and thanks in advance. Okay, loaded story there, but essentially it sounds beautiful. I've never heard of this projected end date to something that sounds like it's been going great. And then when we learned later, they were having great sexes. So it was cuddle buddies for a while, but then he later admitted that they're having great sex too. But for whatever reason, they're not compatible, I guess for reasons that we don't know. But sometimes you just know. There's some other exterior factors that we just do not know. But
maybe it's their lifestyles are completely different.
You and I were saying in our meeting that how mature to set up this end date to what it is that they're currently doing in advance. And I think he told me in another message they're going to do something together. That's really lovely, and they're planning some beautiful things. I mean, that is mature, and we want to commend you on that, Alexander, because this is a really mature decision that both of you are making for each other, and I applaud the time that you had together. Coming to the question is, could they have sex post this non-relationship or relationship, however you want to look at it? Could they do this, Kodi?
Oh, I believe 100% that it is possible for them to be friends with benefits after being in a relationship. I do think it's going to be a bit tricky, and I have to commend them for not jumping into it head first. Or is it dick first? It might be dick first, but
ass first?
Ass first? I don't know.
Sometimes I lead with my ass.
First? I don't know.
Get that out of my face.
They've never said that, darling. Your ass is wonderful, darling.
No, it's like a cherry pie, darling.
Nobody says no to cherry pie.
Thank you. Sade does it. First album. Sorry. Let's go. Diamond Life.
Yes. Yes. But yes, because feelings are a tricky thing and not to be taken lightly. I'm glad they're taking it slow and be considerate of how both of you are feeling in the moment, because anything is possible. So it could really, really, you guys, if you're having great sex, I say go for it and try that thing, but be very wary of how you are treating each other and how you both are feeling, and be honest. And that's it.
Yeah, and I think my advice comes in on, because we don't know some of those other factors that are not allowing them to be in a relationship. We just don't know some of these things, so we're only going to give advice based on what we know.
Yes.
It sounds like you still respect and like each other, and it also sounds like you guys want that end date, and it also sounds like you have good sex. So to answer his question, Alexander's question, I agree with you. Yes, they can have friends with benefits, and I even mean friends with benefits, because it sounds like they haven't officiated what they are doing as a relationship. So it would almost be an extension of an addendum, as I always like to say, or a rework, a remix, if you will, of what you're currently doing, just maybe with new rules. Okay, Domauer, new rules. And everybody, I always say we pivot, we change every day. I'm an editor, like I was a video editor, and I apply that to my life all the time. I make plans all the time, but I'm really capable of editing my day, editing what I'm doing, physically editing a show. You have to be open to editing, pivoting, and changing. And this would just sounds like you're going to have a natural way. What it will require is continual communication on what you both want. But if you're cuddle buddies, if you're having great sex, carry the conversation on to friends with benefits that you're both like, say, I'm really enjoying this sex with you. I do enjoy your company. I do realize that we probably aren't meant, at least right now, to be in a committed relationship together for various reasons that you and I don't know, Kodi. But
yeah,
what if, and you can always say what if we tried to stay in contact post this final date that we both set, as with some fun here and there, but we both talk about it, and we're always, no one has to do anything they don't want to do. Put that out there, I say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And something that kind of just dawned on me was that as you were talking, anything, like I said before, anything is possible, and you don't know what this could evolve into. So maybe you're just friends with benefits right now. Maybe down the road, when situation has changed and your lifestyles are aligned, you can go back to trying to date. So I say just keep your options open and really just honor your feelings, basically.
And again, Alexander, we really commend you for this mature relationship side that you've shared with us, because I do really feel that these two people have come across this in a very mature way that you don't really see or hear a lot about, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So I kind of commend you.
I don't know if I could do it. So I really have to say congratulations, you guys, because you're more mature than I am.
Yeah, we don't know their age groups and all that. Maybe I could today. There's a lot of things I could do today that I wouldn't be open to several years ago. Ooh. So the newer me today would be open to this. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. I know it was nuanced and all, but and we always welcome you to write into us. The best way to do that is going to TAGSPodcast.com and email us via the website, or simply go to IM_Steve V. and Instagram. Use Kodi's at Mr. Maurice. You can ask him and we'll tackle it. Or our new form of communication at Tags Podcast on Twitter, direct messages there. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, and Alexander, keep us posted, please, because we want to know what's going on.
Absolutely. Good point. Good point. All right. Well, I think we have time for one or two Reddit threads that we love to weigh in on. And I love this next one. I don't know how much to really say on it. I have a couple things to say, but this really got my attention. How do I tell a guy I'm dating who I really like I have an STD? One of my friends said, don't even tell him, but I feel like that's not the right thing to do. We had our first date the same day I had my routine STD test for PrEP done. We had a lot of sex over the next 3 days and really like each other a lot. I just found out this morning I tested positive for my first STD, chlamydia. Funnily enough, I was telling my date proudly that I've never had an STD before. Girl, we've all been there. Should I just be blunt about it? This is awkward for me. Well, before you guys all weigh in, there's an update to the story. And he said, I told him. He thanked me and said he wants to see me again and just cuddle while I'm being treated for it. And he will be getting tested. So I guess it went well. I love that story because in today's PrEP era that we're all on, just let's be real, so many of us, myself included, are not using condoms, and there's always the risk that you're going to get an STI, STD, and the fact remains that I wanted to share personally on this, that you need to, in addition to getting all your STDs checked, you need to have your throat swabbed and your anal region swabbed as well if you're doing those sorts of things, so oral and anal. And for example, I'm just going to be really honest, I was on a cruise and had a lot of sex and did the P test for chlamydia, and that came back negative.
But really?
The anal region came back positive. And had I not done that, had I not told my doctor to do that, we would have not known that. And the problem with all this is that we just keep spreading these things back and forth. So, I mean, if you don't do them, it's like, and you don't tell partners, then you're just, it's back and forth, and it just stays. And it's fine. I mean, we get these things. And I think it's the nature of where we're at right now with sex via a PrEP world that we live in right now.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I think that by telling this person that you have an STI, that it takes a lot of the stigma away from it. So I think that is super important because it happens to so many people. Why are we shaming people for having an STI? It's not the end of the world. It's not even a really big deal. After a couple of days, you can take that pill and you will be good to go. So just be as flat as possible, be as upfront as possible, and be as honest as possible about it. And then maybe something like this will happen where you have a brilliant, beautiful outcome, and the guy that you're dating will want to see you again. So
like this story. Yeah. And I mean, I get it. If you're very sexually active at the time, you're not going to be able to tell every person that you've had sex with. Maybe you don't even have their numbers, depending on where and when you're having sex. But in this situation, it's somebody that he's had a great time with. They clearly want to see each other again. Tell him, and I'm glad he did do that. And then he's going to be understanding. He knows that you weren't born yesterday and that you two were the moment ever. And I think he's going to respect
Romeo
you more.
And Juliet.
Yes, he's going to respect you in the end more. So, okay.
Definitely.
This next one I love. It's called, What's the Sexiest Thing a Man Has Told You After Sex? He goes, oh,
yeah.
I'll go first, he wrote. I met up with a guy in an Airbnb. He was pretty well hung, but so gorgeous, so I went for it. It was painful, but his loving tenderness... Was it the guy on OnlyFans? Unfortunately. It was painful, but it was loving tenderness. Quickly made me that go. So it was painful, but his loving tenderness quickly made that go away and was soon replaced by carnal hunger. My knees were pretty dug into the bed, and in the literal heat of the moment, I pulled the sheets and we both heard them tear. Afterwards, when I went home, I felt the need to apologize since I'm almost on the bearish spectrum and he would have to pay for the linen. He said to me, you didn't tear them. We did fucking. I never felt so beautiful or so wanted. Do you have a similar story of what's the sexiest thing a man has told you post-sex? I mean, I had a recent story the other day where a guy texted me, and he said, you made me come 7 times while we were together. And it's true.
Wow. That is a great compliment.
This was the other day. He said, you made me come 7 times. I mean, I know, very basic and whatever, not very like...
No, I love it.
I know. I was like, I did make you come 7 times. And I can't believe it.
That was a lot of work. You owe me $23.95, okay?
Yeah. And I'm still waiting to come. 1 time.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
No.
I did it.
Okay,
but
good.
Not 7 times. But that's probably the best thing recently that I've heard post-sex, other than the fisting guy that I told the story, the guy that we were dating, that he was like, wow, I didn't know that you were into that, and I'm so glad you were. Like, we were on the same page with that. And so, yeah, what's one of the best things you've heard post a shag?
So I constantly am told how wonderful I am.
And you have no hair right now, so...
For everybody listening, I just brushed my hair and I am completely bald. So I don't know what I was swooping, but in my imaginary mind,
that Janet ponytail that she had on last night. That's yeah.
My headphones are going to go flying if I do all that.
I don't know what I was swooping.
Yes, but I've been told many times that I'm fabulous. I'm so good. So, okay, I'm used to hearing that. But the best thing that somebody has ever told me is that I reached their second hole.
Ooh, that's amazing.
I know, right? It made me feel so good.
That's a brilliant one.
When you put this Reddit thread into my feed, in our production meeting, I was like, boom, I know what it is, because it filled me with so much confidence. It made me feel like, first of all, he already had told me that I was really good, and then he told me this on top of it, and I just was over the moon. So Thank you for that.
I'm glad we're co-hosts on the show because we have these stories to share.
I know, right?
We were like crickets. We don't know.
I don't know. Nobody's ever told me anything nice about it.
I'm sure everyone has a story of something. Are there anything that people are saying in the comment section?
They are talking about a new porn craze.
All right, they're having their own fun. Let's put in our final, and weigh in, guys.
Wait, Bryce goes, what the fuck is the second hole?
It's called Use Your Imagination, Bryce. But okay, we actually want to hear from you listeners too when this show gets repackaged. It's episode 464. Reference this particular story. What's the best thing that anyone's ever told you post sex? And also we have a poll question too that you can answer it based on the advice that we gave. Kodi, what is it?
Is friends with benefits possible after dating? And the two options that we have are yes, if we're mature about everything, or no, once an ex, always an ex.
Got it. We want to hear from you. This will all be on TAGSPodcast.com. Reference episode 464. And lastly, we're playing Thirst Trap by Straight Up Gay Porn. This week, they're asking the question, out of these 18 gay porn stars, who took the best photo? And if you remember, they used to use videos from Twitter on this, but Twitter doesn't allow you to embed videos anymore. And I'm just going to go, there was a lot of good ones. It's our job on a audio podcast when this show gets repackaged to vividly describe who got our attention. And the one that got my attention is Raphael James.
Oh my God, I was going to pick him too. Go ahead.
He is standing with his head held high. He's got like a sleeve tattoo on his left hand as he holds the phone up to him. His head is raised high. He's got like a goatee, wavy hair. I think what I really love about him, aside from his beautiful dick and the way his hair is on there, is that he has this sculpted chest that I'm loving. I want to lick his belly button. Great tats on the right. It's really sexy, and he seems like he has a nice face on him. I love the nipples. Really sexy guy. He gets my vote. Who gets yours?
So since I can't choose the guy that you just chose, I'm going to go with Steve Ricks. He's about 3 above the guy that you chose, and he's bent over on the floor. He's got his ass to the camera. Ooh. He has the most beautiful furry ass and so many tattoos. He's looking
ginger, back. Yes,
I think he's a ginger. I'm pretty sure. He's so cute, and that ass looks like it's ready to be eaten. So that's my pick for this week.
It looks like our co-host Jeremy would love that ass for sure.
Oh, yes, it's nice.
Other people in the mix are Jimmy West, says Teddy Alexis. Thank you very much. Bryce says Raphael is so sexy, the one I picked, but yes. I am absolutely crazy for Timothy. I was going to say, I thought Timothy Chalamet. I'm like, he's not in here. Timothy Champagne, who's also in the mix as well. I was like, Timothy Chalamet.
Bryce just added him to the list, I think.
Yeah, right. Last I know. I love that. Thanks for playing. You can play too, listeners. Go to episode 464, and the link will be there for you to tell us who you think is the thirst trap of this particular week. We thank you so much. We thank our virtual audience, and we know that all of you have not found us as much because of our lost @TAGSPodcast Instagram. You can always go to our Twitter account where you can follow us there and get all the links @TAGSPodcast. We appreciate you. One more shout out that next week, Joe, Kodi's boyfriend, will be our special guest. If you have questions for Joe in advance, things about you've always wanted to know about Kodi and Joe, how he puts up with him, all these things, send them away. You can reach out to us @TAGSPodcast on Twitter, direct message us, or go to the website, TAGSPodcast.com. Follow Kodi. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching on Instagram. Follow him on his personal account at Mr. Maurice. Follow me on Instagram. I am _Steve V. TAGSPodcast.com for all things tags. And thanks, guys. So much fun. Thanks, Kodi.
Oh, thank you, darling. Always a wonderful time.
And in the meantime, continue having
hot gay
sex, darling.